Hi, everybody. Welcome to the QuickPoints podcast. I'm Pat O'Rourke. I'm the sports editor of the BU News Service. I'm alongside Alex Hirsch once again. And Alex, how about that game on Sunday night?
It was depressing watching it at the bar. Got your hopes up. Well, first it went down, then it went up.
Well, first
then
it
went
went
down.
The first drive of the game, like it was right away they scored. I was like, this game's gonna be a blowout because I thought it was gonna be. I thought it could. It was like this might be a blowout.
I thought so
if the
too.
Patriots kind of figured things out with their offense and facing Wade Phillips' defense, I thought that was a game that. I didn't see it being that way because of the weather and kind of, I thought the Broncos do have a good defense, but I thought there was a potential it could be a 30-10 game, which obviously it wasn't.
Looked that way at the beginning. You're right. Brady sliced right through. Was able to was it Gronk with the first touchdown of the game, I believe?
Was it? Yeah. Was it Gronk or was it Chandler?
No, I believe it was Gronk
Okay.
on that. What was it? That touchdown that he had.
Yeah.
He flies into the end zone
Right,
like always. It was. It was a good game. No, it ended up being a good Sunday. It ended up being a good game to actually watch, which many of these Patriots games are normally boring by the second quarter.
Yeah, it actually was a pretty decent game.
It was actually a good game. Unfortunately, we didn't get the outcome we wanted. It had all this energy and excitement. And then, then Gronk gets hurt, and then everyone's deflated. The whole bar was dead silent, except for the 5 girls that didn't even pay attention to the game, and they were still cheering, and it was like, whoa, Gronk's hurt. And they're like, oh. But then, so that went on, and then
that looked really ugly.
It looked
ugly. Really ugly.
And then they came back. Everyone's excitement was through the air. High fives all around, standard Boston fashion. And then you got
I wasn't thinking that. I didn't
lost.
even. When they tied the game, I was just thinking Gronk's done for the year, so the season's over.
Yeah.
They could go 16-0, and they're probably going to lose in the AFC Championship game.
Well, I never count them out if Brady's still there. I think Gronk is one of the players you can't lose, but if Brady's there, you could in this bad league, I think you could still win with Brady.
It's possible.
This year the teams are so bad this year.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the game. What were some of the things you saw that you liked from this game?
I thought that was a really big character game.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't say a character win.
No.
Although I guess it was kind of a win in itself.
I think it's a win because Gronk is healthy.
Yeah. But the character they showed, and someone told me this yesterday, I thought I agreed wholeheartedly with, was that they showed more character in that loss than they had in any win to that point of the season.
Yeah.
For them, Gronk goes down.
Maybe
and you can see when Gronk went down, you could see
one too.
Yeah. But when Gronk went down, you could see that there was a little bit of a shockwave. The team was, to pardon the pun, deflated.
Oh, look at the faces. Brady was just like it was ghost white.
It was a punch in the gut.
He knew his season was over.
But for them to come back right away after Gronk gets hurt, kick the game-tying field goal, and obviously the result.
Drive.
Yeah, hell of a
drive.
And Gostowski just gets up there and kicks a 55-yard field goal in the snow like it's a chip shot in the middle of the summer, which is amazing. But
I'll tell you the one thing I really liked, and I know the defense let down towards the end of the game. They gave up some touchdowns. But I loved what I saw out of Logan Ryan. I thought he dominated Demaryius Thomas.
Logan Ryan was the best player in the field.
He was dominating him. And even though Emmanuel Sanders had a pretty solid game, 6 catches, 113 yards on 9 targets, I still liked the way Malcolm Butler played him.
Well, that's what I've been saying about
Butler was all over him. And
what I've been saying about Butler all season is
great throws and great catches by Emmanuel Sanders that they're sometimes going to catch. And some of those were in zone coverage too, so Butler wasn't necessarily on him. But I thought Butler looked phenomenal. That is the number 1 corner on the team, on many teams. He's a top 5 corner in this league right now. And I love it. I love what I'm seeing out of him. I loved what I saw out of that secondary as well, for the most part. But Logan Ryan's been a great surprise for me, and Malcolm Butler's been phenomenal.
Well, one thing I'll say about Butler, like we said, he allowed, 6 and 113 to Sanders?
Mm-hmm. Which isn't technically all him. I mean, there was some zone catches.
But I mean, he'll give up a big catch like this. Is what I've been saying about him all season. So he'll give up a big catch like that, 20, 25-yard catch, and he'll come right back. He'll bat down a pass. He'll make, he'll almost make a pick. He'll make, he'll pretty much take the receiver out of the game. That's what you want to see out of a number one corner. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he's
mentally tough.
Yeah,
he's a mentally tough player. He's got the tenacity of a number one corner, and he's got the attitude of a number one corner, and he is a number one corner.
You're going to get beat when you're a cornerback. Yeah. It's natural. It's like closers are going to blow games. Goaltenders are going to allow goals. Cornerbacks are going to get beat. It's about how you respond from getting beat, and he responds as good as I've seen from the best of them. Whether it's Revis Law, any of those guys, I don't think he's as good as any of those guys, at least yet. But you see what he brings to the table, and man, you can see the potential he has, and I'm really excited for him.
That was the one thing. That was the thing that stood out the most to me in that game, though, was the secondary play by Logan Ryan and Malcolm Butler. That is what I really liked from that game. But there's a lot of things I really didn't like in that game. That it was a little unnerving. I didn't like what I saw out of Chandler Jones last night. I hated what I saw out of the receiving corps. Mind you, obviously, it wasn't.
Well, what are you
the best.
expecting?
Well, I expect a little more out of Brandon LaFell, but
I suppose
LaFell was 4 catches, 36 yards on 9 targets.
But is LaFell a number one receiver? I mean, you look at what LaFell did last year. You got to put in.
It doesn't. I don't think it matters. 4 for 9 is not good enough. Regardless of what he put in, that was not good enough. I also don't like. James White is terrible. This kid cannot play. He can't break away from anyone. He catches the ball and he goes down immediately. He runs the ball, he goes straight into the pile. And that's why, obviously, they went with Brandon Bolden in the second half, because James White can't do it.
Well, you can see why. You can see why he's been. Was this his second or third year here?
James White or Bolden?
James White.
Second year, fourth-round pick out of Wisconsin.
But you can see why he's been passed over again and again and again. Yeah. You can see why Dion Lewis won the job out of camp. You can see why he didn't get much time last year as a rookie. After I thought he was a pretty highly touted back coming out of Wisconsin. He wasn't a high draft pick, but he was a pretty highly touted draft pick. Was he a third or fourth round pick?
Fourth round pick. But that's what's concerning. Is because we actually need him right now. We need him and Brandon Bolden to combine to fill Dion Lewis's role. Yep. Brandon Bolden's doing a pretty decent job. 4 catches, 84 yards. Obviously, 63 of those were on that touchdown yard. But it was 4 on 4 targets, and that was what was important. James White, 2 catches on 5 targets, only 5 yards, and he can't run the ball worth a damn. 3 carries of 1 yard. It's frustrating to see, and that was something I did not like. The other thing I really hated, and obviously I wasn't at the game, so I don't know what the weather was like, but I did not like the play calling going into the half and coming out of the half. Mm-hmm. I hated it. We had the ball 2 minutes off, 3 timeouts, and we're just running the ball.
Well, this is what's grinded my gears with Josh McDaniels over the years, is that they just go away from the run, and I understand that. I understand that you're not. If you're not running the ball effectively, and why are you running the ball? But at the same time, you got to lead in the second half in a game like that. Why are you passing? Run down the clock, eat up the clock. Yeah, I know Brock Osweiler is not Peyton Manning, but he's, like I said, I thought he looks pretty good. He was a pretty good quarterback.
You have a 1 touchdown lead going into half with 2 minutes and 3 touch timeouts, but all you're doing is running on 3 straight plays with no timeouts, and you have the best quarterback in the world ever to play in your backfield, and you're not even trying to get into field goal range. That bothered me, because what is Bill Belichick's thing that he loves to do? He loves to score before the halftime and then score coming out of the halftime. They had that opportunity with 3 timeouts, 2 minutes left, and they didn't do it. And then they come out of the half looking flat on a 3 and out as well, and they try to running the ball, and they can't run the ball. So I understand you want to, McDaniels needs to balance the run in the other sorts of the game. And other times of the game, but at this moment, all he did was run, and it was terrible play calling. On 2nd and 10, they're running it with James White, or 2nd and 10, they're running it with Brandon Bolden. What are they doing? Why aren't they trying to put this away? Had they tried to put this away, we might not even ever got this point. Maybe we're not trying to throw it in the 4th quarter, and Rob Gronkowski doesn't get hurt. You never know. I mean, obviously, those are what ifs, big what ifs, obviously. But why are we not trying to score? That was so frustrating to me. I don't know. What did you think about that?
Yeah, man. Well, at the end of the first half, I thought that was pretty bizarre how they, at least try to get a field goal, make it a 2-possession game. But
you're 40 yards away. The defense hasn't really been able to stop you in the first half. So,
I thought it was a bad day all along for the offense. But at the same time, you factor in the weather. I know Brady's been great, and all the stats with Brady in cold weather games, but it's still a cold weather game. It's football slippery. It's the conditions aren't great, but they're also extremely short-handed. I mean,
Yeah, they're short-handed.
Not having Edelman
was
a huge. I thought it was a huge loss.
Yeah,
That's a big loss, and that changes everything with that.
But you also have to factor in the penalties. The penalties were out of control right now.
The reffing was atrocious.
The reffing was atrocious. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Yeah. All right. You have the huge holding call on Patrick Chung. The huge offensive pass interference call on Rob Gronkowski. He had two of them. The first one, I don't know, but the second one was a huge one, which the Chung one negated a sack, which would have made it 3rd and 18, and then instead made it 1st and 5. That was huge. And then Gronkowski's took away a big catch, a big 20-yard catch.
It was a big 20-yard catch that would have been a first down.
I think the
Gronkowski one was worse.
Oh, I think the worst one was the holding call on the offense. I forget who it was on. That negated the Keyshawn Martin 45-yard catch.
Yep.
That one put us in field goal range right there too, and a wide open Keyshawn Martin on this ticky-tacky holding call that was incredible. I don't remember who that one was on. Do you recall who that one was on?
I don't remember.
But the refs, these aren't. It's not just our game, but it does seem, and for the most part, I would say we actually benefit from the majority of those calls. For the most of the season, I'd say we've gotten the better end of the calls.
Some of them, yeah.
I'd say you have to think that way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been 10-0 going into that game if we were getting the brunt end of all of those calls.
The game I remember in particular was the Buffalo game. I thought the first
Buffalo game had
game.
bad ones, but then this game, not only that, but then you have the communication, lack of communication at the end of the game, which Belichick even said, yes, they got the issue right. If you don't remember what happened, there was an injury timeout with about 27 seconds left, and they took the injury timeout. But according to the rule book, after the injury timeout is taken, as soon as the ball is set back on the field, the clock continues to run. Belichick wasn't upset about that. Belichick was upset that wasn't communicated to him. He said,
which he should be. He's perfectly within his right.
Quote, he said, I think the way that it was ruled was right. The communication involving the play and all that probably could have been handled better somehow in the process. So he's right. It should have been ruled better because they didn't know. They were under the impression that it was a timeout, so they took their time. And, luckily it didn't hinder they were still able to get the field goal. But you never know. Maybe they would have been able to get a touchdown. We don't know. They might not have been even going for a touchdown. But still, I mean, that was huge. And Tommy Kern made an interesting point. I won't say it's a great point, but I'm curious on what your thoughts are on this. The Patriots last year had the deflating football scandal. And a lot of referees seem to think, this is his point, mind you, a lot of referees might be feeling out there that the Patriots try to pull one over on them. They cheated the referees. So some people are wondering, do the referees have it out for the Patriots this year? Because of they want revenge a little bit on the Patriots.
No, I don't think that. I think what I said about the whole root of that Deflategate scandal was the vast ineptitude on the side of the referees. The referees who just the whole process. I think the biggest piece of the blame pie to me in that whole Deflategate nonsense that started the whole thing was Walt Anderson. Know where the footballs are. Mm-hmm. Have an idea, if there really are strict guidelines, which apparently, according to the NFL, they're pretty serious about these football deflation, at least inflation. At least they were in that case. I don't know if they ever were before. It never seemed like they were before. I didn't know it. Did you know what the levels of PSI required were before?
I never even heard of PSI before.
No, me neither. Never heard of PSI. That was like a semester of grad school.
Science 101.
Physics, I guess, yeah.
I agree. I think the overwhelming blame was on the referees, but does that make the referees a little bit, maybe they want to blow the whistle a little bit more against the Patriots?
No.
Maybe they're pissed off.
I just don't think they're very good at their jobs. I think that's what it is. I think that's the root of it. I don't think they have any agenda against anyone. I just don't think they're good at their job. And that's why and the Patriots are not, like I said, I think the Patriots have benefited from inept refereeing. Like I said earlier, I think the one I remember in particular was that Buffalo game, week 2. I was watching that game and just saying, wow, like the Bills, like there's some ridiculous calls on both sides, but particularly I thought the Bills were getting jobbed, and I was thinking, if I were a Bills fan, I'd be pretty mad, right? I'd be pretty upset right now. And so I don't think the refs have it out of the Patriots or anyway. I just think they suck.
Well, and then last week against Buffalo, They had that one. What was the penalty? That was a mistake.
The inadvertent whistle.
Yeah, the inadvertent
whistle. And again,
whistle.
the ref is like, 3 deep into the Bills bench. Like he's watching like he's some 12-year-old kid watching a marathon
whistle,
finish.
But even Kraft came out and said, we are human. We all make mistakes. But
yeah,
I didn't see, and I thought that was a mistake in the Buffalo game.
But it was a crucial mistake that can't happen.
Honestly, I think people are way over exaggerating that. If the inadvertent whistle hadn't been blown, then the receiver would have been right on. I mean, the corner would have been with Danny Amendola, so therefore he probably would have been tackled anyways. So he would have been tackled right at the same spot of the. It sucks because it's a what if.
It was a game-changing mistake.
I don't think so at all. But
well, you're talking even in that case, that's a first down in the Bills' territory.
Well, they got the first down.
They
gave it to them. They gave them the first down, and then they gave them a plus 15 yardage.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think it was it wasn't a critical mistake at all. They gave him the catch at the spot of the catch, and people are like, well, Danny Amendola could have ran the whole way. Yeah, he could have ran the whole way, but that only could have ran the whole way because the corner stopped running because of the inadvertent whistle. If there was no inadvertent whistle, the corner's right there with him. We all know Danny Amendola does not have breakaway speed, so he's probably getting tackled right there. But that was just a mistake. That is a mistake. Humans make mistakes. Mm-hmm. Last game against the Broncos on Sunday night, I didn't think these were mistakes. I thought these were just terrible, terrible calls. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they made mistakes. There's a thing where you could just blow the whistle by an accident. There's something in your mouth. You blow it by an accident. It's like, shoot, I blew the whistle. Did not mean to do that. It was inadvertent. This was, I blew the whistle because he held. Because Patrick Chung held the receiver in the end zone. Terrible call. I blew the whistle because Rob Gronkowski pushed off to get the first down, to get that catch. Awful call. His arm was barely fully extended. Could have gone either way. It should have been just a no call because you got to let these kids play at some point. And then there was the holding call, which I still can't remember who that was on, that negated the Keyshawn Martin 45-yard bomb catch as well. So I think these are right. I think you're right. I'm sorry. I think this is just bad officiating in those areas. I don't agree with Tommy Curran as well, just to wrap that point up. Yep. I don't agree. I don't think that the refs are – I think it's an interesting theory in the world of conspiracy theories.
It's interesting, yeah.
And if you want to throw more conspiracies there, that's good. I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty of ammunition if the refs wanted to be like, yeah, well, they've cheated us so many times, blah, blah, blah.
If this was an isolated incident where, the refereeing was at least, I wouldn't say – good, but at least average.
It was just bad against the Patriots.
One incident, I would say, but we've been seeing this all year.
And for the
referees
most part,
screwing things up.
Exactly, and for the most part, it has benefited the Patriots and not everyone else. So I think you're right. It does feel like we've got the refs from the replacement refs though right now, and we don't have the real officiating crew from years ago during the terrible.
Well, there's been a lot of refs
the Packers and Seahawks.
Well, there's been a lot of refs that have come into the league in the past couple of years. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know there's been a lot of there's been a lot of turnovers in terms of the referees. And the superstars are still there. The Walt Andersons and the Ed Hockley's and the guys like that. But there's a lot of newer refs from their first, second, third year officiating. I think that has a lot to do with it, that they're coming from somewhere else, and kind of similar to the college refs. Right. They're the replacement refs that came in.
But how much does this hurt the Patriots? Do the Patriots have to change the way they play? Do the Patriots have to? The Patriots are known for going outside the rule, not outside the rule books, but towing on that line of is it legal, is it not illegal? If the refs don't know their job, the refs don't know the job, then the Patriots have to err on the side of caution more than on the side of let's push the rule book.
I don't think they push the rule book. I think they know the rule book. I think they know it better than a lot of refs, a lot of coaches, and even some people who write the rule books. And
but does this change that? Does this change the way the Patriots have to play?
No, I don't think so.
Because I think it might. I think it has to. They have to be a little bit more cautious. They have to. They can't be. They can't go into the deep dark areas of the rule book because the refs don't know what to do right now. I feel like they're just gonna blow the whistle. They have no idea. It's an illegal formation all of a sudden, and it's not. But it does seem like every week though the NFL has to be like, yeah, we apologize. The refs missed that call, or the refs got that call wrong, and it's happening more and more. But I wonder if does Gronk need to change the way he needs to play? 6 offensive pass interference calls on him this year. That's more than anyone else. Does he need to change the way he plays? But which is really unfair because teams play him physically. That's the only way to play him. So I don't know. I think they might be changing things up in practice a little bit. But
they could be.
They could be. But speaking of practice, though,
I think if they need to change the way they play, it's because they're so shorthanded right now, at least for the time being. No Edelman, no Gronk for at least the next week or two. No Amendola. Who knows?
He should be back.
He might be back, but he'll be in. If he's not back, so I mean, you're missing some. You're playing with ponies as opposed to horses now.
And you got no more.
That's the big thing for me. That's why they have to change the way they play.
No Chris Harper anymore.
Oh darn, yeah, no Chris Harper. Who's gonna muff punts now?
But they're down 3 receivers. Oh, I'm sorry, they're down four receiving threats. I mean, if you want to count Aaron Dobson in there, he's better than Chris Harper at least.
He'd have been their best receiver this week.
He could have been. So, and it would have been a nice compliment to have him outside of Brandon LaFell as well.
Yeah, LaFell's your top receiver right now.
But that's all you've got right now. You've lost Gronk, you've lost Amendola, you've lost Edelman, you've now lost Hightower as well. Collins is still mysteriously inactive. So you're losing players left and right. I don't know if you've lost anyone else though. I think you've lost Deion Lewis.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's it. So these injuries, what do the Patriots do? I mean, how do you change the way you play? Do you start thinking postseason?
Sign Terrell Owens.
What?
Sign Terrell Owens.
Sign Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
See, I sign Randy Moss.
Okay, that was also sarcastic.
But I'd sign Randy Moss.
A little bit.
I'm not sarcastic about signing Randy Moss. That guy could probably still play.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's 3 years younger than Terrell Owens, probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't sign either of them. But I mean, people are talking about LaFell right now. Well, now LaFell becomes a big part of the offense. But he's your best receiver right now. Brandon LaFell, who I don't think he's certainly not a number 1 receiver.
No,
probably not a number 2. I mean,
he's a good number 2.
He had a great year last year as the 3rd or 4th option.
He was third option.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th.
But he's all you got right now. Gronk is out for, I'm gonna say, at least 2 weeks. I'm gonna say they've already ruled him out for this week.
Yeah.
They'll probably they're gonna be cautious with the guy.
Don't play him in Houston.
Yeah, you don't need to play him in Houston. You got Amendola.
I think of Houston. I think of Wes Welker on that carpet ripping himself up. That's a terrible turf.
Yeah, and then
so many people have blown out their knees there over the years.
And then you got Amendola. Who he should be back, and that will be a huge get back for the Patriots. Amendola's been looking good. Then you've got Hightower, who's got a sprained MCL or PCL.
MCL. Yep.
So he's out. He's out for a couple weeks now.
And you look at what happened with that run defense after he went out.
That's a huge loss.
They started getting gashed. There was 15 rushes for 43 yards before he. So there was less than 3 yards of carry before he went down, and obviously they ripped off those 2 big runs that was a score that got him back into the game, and it was a score that ultimately won them the game.
Yeah, no, he's a huge loss, and hopefully they're getting Jamie Collins back at some point. I mean, at least he was doubtful this week rather than out until the game. So, I mean, at least that's progress.
I'm just happy he's alive.
Yeah.
I thought he was dead at one point. I was like, is this guy okay? Is he?
But hopefully he should be back either next week or this week coming up against the Eagles or next week against the Texans. I'm gonna go with he'll be back for one of those.
And that's big. I think he's the most dynamic player in that defense. So that's huge getting him back.
But here's kind of the silver lining though of the Patriots losing to the Broncos is let's say the Patriots had won, all right? Then they beat the Eagles, they beat the Texans, they beat the Dolphins and the Jets. And they're going into week 17.
Oh, my God. I'm so happy the 16-0 talk's over.
The 16-0 talk is over, which means if they've secured their first-round bye and the number 1 seed, they can rest these players. And then they get another week after that as well because they got the bye going in the playoffs. So that you know how huge that is for this team right now? This is one of the most banged-up teams in the league. Now, the depth is still there.
I'm just happy about it.
Fortunately, the depth is still there. But the stars are just going.
Well, I think if they're 15-0 and they really need to rest guys, they're going to rest guys.
I don't think they're doing that.
Away a game.
I don't think they're doing it, but it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is they can't do it now. They don't have to even contemplate that. They can go 14-2 now for all I care. As long as they get the number 1 seed, I don't care how many games they lose, regardless the rest of the season. I really don't. It's almost good that they lost because not only did they lose, but they also won because Gronk's not out for the year. So they won in that aspect. That's what truly matters. And they're going to have the option now to hopefully rest players going into the last week. And I think that's huge because that gives them, was that 2 or 3 weeks of rest, which will be huge for Hightower, huge for Edelman. That's the big get back. Huge for Gronk as well. Because for all we know, if they can win without Gronk, you could be looking at, they might rest Gronk until this team loses again. it wouldn't be.
So I mean, until the number one seed's in doubt.
Or until the number one seed's in doubt. Yeah, why not? You might rest them until that happens. So if the Patriots win next week and then they beat the Texans as well, it's like, what? Why even bring Gronk back until that number one seed is in doubt? Maybe you bring him back. I wouldn't even bring him back for the Jets game in New York. That's a physical game that they always play. I don't want Gronk playing on a bruised knee that's going to feel like he's got a torn ACL every time. So I don't know. I think we caught a big break here by losing and not losing Gronk.
I was just happy to see them lose for selfish reasons. I was tired of hearing about the 16-0 stuff, and I tweeted it after the game. Go Pats and whoever's playing the Panthers, because I hate all this 16-0 talk.
Yeah.
I hate it more than Don Shula, I think. I really think I do.
Well, I think it's nice that it's done now. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. They play Eagles at home this week. Who you got?
This week?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go with the Pats. They're pretty good.
Pretty good. I think they're pretty good still, especially if Mark Sanchez is playing. Mark Sanchez has never played well against the Patriots.
Yeah. The former USC quarterback versus the future in the future USC coach.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I got the Patriots winning this week too. That's all we got for Quick Points this week. Make sure you tune in at the end of the week for a new 4 and Out with me and alongside Pat O'Rourke, the sports editor for the BU News Service. I'm Alex Hirsch. Have a good week.